We're live.
All right, folks, welcome to this week's episode of the Left, the Right, and the Absurd. Tonight, before we get things started, we wanted to say thank you very much to our special guest again last week. We also wanted to say thank you to everyone who watched and all our new subscribers. Going from 78 subscribers up to 106 was just awesome. And thank you guys, everyone who subbed to us, for helping us break 100 subs all the way up to 106. Thank you guys for 204 views last week. That is, to my knowledge, a record for this podcast so far.
I think it's the second highest. I think our first one has like 232, but yeah, it was still really, really high. It was more than anything we've done in a while.
It was like broke 100 within not long after.
That was our most liked video, I think, because that one had like 21.
Yeah.
So
and
guys, thanks to Noah and Henry for being on too. That helped. So, but anyway, cool.
Keep up everything that you guys are doing with sharing, liking, commenting, all that stuff. But this week we are going to be basically we want to do a more educational video tonight, and we're going to be trying to teach people how to not be armchair anarchists. Basically, the whole idea of tonight is to teach people how to actually act on their beliefs and how to further those beliefs. Basically, how to further not only the anarchist movement, but the liberty movement, and not the gay libertarian version.
Like theory and practice.
Yeah. But
so what would you define as armchair anarchism then?
It's extremely similar to the armchair philosopher, the man who just simply sits and wonders and doesn't actually live out their beliefs. The armchair anarchist is someone who fucking votes. That's something.
There's also the people who sit online and just hope for something to happen, but they don't actually do anything.
Free State Project.
Fuck you. What?
Chris Cantwell.
Chris Cantwell's a giant faggot. I will give you that one.
He single-handedly ruined the Free State Project.
Disagree, but not the point of the show.
Anyway,
But basically, it's people that don't actually live their beliefs. They support the state. They do things to support the state, etc., etc.
Yeah, like saying you're an anarchist, and then you get free college just by going in the military. Some really gay shit like that. You're not an anarchist at that point. I'm sorry. Just things like that. That is being an armchair anarchist. Be like, yeah, this would be nice if this happened, but I'm just gonna not do anything to help out in the process and actually make things worse. So if you're like that, fuck you.
Basically, logical consistency is key.
Yeah. So there should be a few vital things we should talk about on how to actually further your beliefs. I don't know. For one, I just actually watched a video about dual power. On one hand, you resist everything that the state and capitalism throws at you, resist exploitation and things like that. On the other hand, you build what you want to see, like autonomous collectives and even just civil disobedience and things like that. To actually make
I think a huge key to advancing the liberty movement is definitely working outside the state and not playing that game and like making your own system to like replace the state, essentially. Not like replace it in the sense that it's going to be a new state. It's like a new, better form of your society is what you're envisioning.
I think there's another important key part that a lot of people seem to miss, though, when we discuss things like this, and it's not just about separating yourself from the state. It's about being able to be essentially useful in the society that will proceed with the end of the state.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just about ending the state. It's about making
Don't
yourself into a person that can thrive in the absence of the state and in your new society.
don't go out and get a fucking liberal arts degree and expect to have some use when the state fucking falls and you master in like the psychology of like
On
women.
underwater basket weaving.
Yeah.
I thought something would be interesting would be like talking about armchair anarchism and something like individualist anarchism, like Stirner and egoism, because with them, a lot of individuals just don't care about. I shouldn't say anything but themselves, but in a way, it's somewhat true, and I wouldn't necessarily classify them as armchair anarchists.
I kind of know
Because
what
while
you're
they're not directly doing anything against the state or capitalism or whatever system they're fighting, like their ideology doesn't like tell them to. I don't know. I'm trying to put this into words. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I kind of get what you're saying, but I'm kind of lost at the same time. Are you saying that like they're just as individualism or like egoism as a philosophy doesn't like dictate that they take any certain action to like advance the cause?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I know with some individuals, anarchists, like Josiah Warren, he went out and started like mutualist projects, and he was hoping people would follow his lead and do stuff like that. And then the Liberty newspaper popped up, and there were just mostly anarchist periodicals like that. But
Well, I think that's a key part of it. Education is definitely important, but like that can't be the only thing. Because I mean, I feel like that just leads back to armchair anarchism. Like it's like an extension of it.
I mean, there's a lot of people online who write articles and things like that, but most of the time with these websites that they run with, they actually do things outside of it.
Yeah, definitely, and that's definitely key because I know like. I mean, you take iFunny for example. Like a majority of the people, like I'd say almost all of them, will just sit on there and bitch about stuff, but they would never like go out and
of them are
do anything.
Anyway, so.
Which is
exactly.
Really funny. The people listening, some of you might know who this is, but Sheehan. A lot of people will say some awful things about him, but he's actually out there doing things, and none of the people that criticize him are.
Yeah,
personally, I really Sheehan's a rad dude.
Yeah, I talk to him a lot, like on a daily basis. He's done more in the past 3 months than I could say for most people that I actually talk to on
Yeah, it gets really old whenever people like complain. It's like, oh, well, you're not doing anything, or you should do X this way. It's like, but you yourself aren't doing it. You're not going out there and doing anything. Like if you have a fucking perfect activism strategy, then let's see it. Go out there and do it.
I mean, he's actually organized some parts of Portland.
Like I'm totally cool with that. That's awesome. But yeah, I mean, like the thing that infuriates me is like there's a lot of people that will just complain and like not do anything and say that people need to do stuff a certain way, but just won't do anything themselves.
This isn't us degrading theory either. Like theory is important, but like
praxis.
Theory isn't enough to get it done. Like theory, you have to put rubber to the road at some point.
You have to apply your theory. It's theory, practice, and then if your theory doesn't work, then you have to go back to theory. But in practicing, your theory can evolve further.
Yeah. And
I think self-reliance is a huge key. I was actually talking about this last night with someone that I hope's watching tonight. I think learning things to essentially be able to be self-reliant really helps, especially with the ideas with things like mutualism, where our ideal is gradual growth of I'll say union, as I don't like the term collective. I feel union better suits it.
Yeah.
it's gradual growth of the union. But if you have this self-reliance and you and your friends want to get together and essentially buy a plot of land and work off of that, you can do that if you have some sense of self-reliance. Me personally, I spend my free time researching, gardening, or farming, essentially, researching building greenhouses, rainwater collection systems, filtration systems for water, and all sorts of stuff like that, so I can understand how to be self-reliant and provide for myself.
Yeah.
Are you wanting to live off grid?
I wouldn't say completely. There are some utilities that I can't personally manufacture myself that
Right.
I think the grid really helps with, but we're a union to form with people such as plumbers and septic experts. I think there would be no need for any form of state, as we could manufacture our own systems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's the septic and the electricity that are the big deal. Running on solar is amazing, but there's a lot of work that goes into it.
Is there like, do you guys want to talk about like specific things that people can do, just like in their cities?
Yeah, I think that's great because I mean our whole goal here is education, so I think talking about stuff that we can do
Yeah, I mean, if
that
you
others.
lived in a larger city, like if 50,000 plus people, I think it'd probably be a good idea if you just got like some food together, or maybe go out to the park or just like hand out free food or whatever. Because I know that there's people in Orlando do that all the time for the homeless there, and it's mutual aid work.
I've worked at a free store before, and I can say like that was a really actually great experience to have.
Yeah, I mean you can do mutual aid work and just like go out to, I don't want to say kind of be like Goodwill, but like do things, just hand out things and for the community or for people, and you can advertise that you're whatever anarchist or socialist branch you want to call it, but I think that would be an important thing to do. So you could also stir up conversations with these people and tell them what you're about, and while also helping them.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. And if you're, I know a lot of they do this in colleges. They start up like student organizations, like for the students so that they can have a say in things, how things are run. I know they
Yeah,
have.
if you're at a school or whatever, like make a club, like get
Yeah.
people involved, advertise around. Like, I mean, I know I'm involved with political shit at my school. Like, if you're
Sit
in high
out.
school,
I mean, sit outside the fucking library and just hand out pamphlets for Christ's sake.
yeah, people do that shit all the time. Like, as I'm trying to go to class, I said before the show, I had a bunch of Bernie and Hillary supporters trying to hand me fucking pamphlets telling me to vote for them. Like, you can do that just like with your anarchism and your socialism and your philosophy or whatever it is message you're trying to get out there. Like, if there's ways to do it instead of just like yelling at strangers on the internet. Like, the more face-to-face interaction you have with people, the better you'll get at like talking to them and spreading your message. You'll refine it a little more. You'll be a better communicator.
There is a difference between talking to somebody online about anarchism than also talking to them in person, because they can actually see a human face behind it.
Right.
Instead of like a Wikipedia page. So.
On top of that, it also allows you to see what other people's questions are, as opposed to the typical day-to-day stuff that like we listen to. It allows us to see what the common person is thinking about it, and it allows you to better formulate answers so that you can improve upon the information that you are giving out.
Yeah, and,
I mean, most of the stuff that Benjamin Tucker and Proudhon put out was newspapers, pamphlets, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm not saying let it consume like your entire life or anything like that, but I would say it would also be important to like know what's going on in your city and your state, so you can provide your alternatives to it instead of having people say, "Is like, well, this state could do this. What are you guys gonna do?"
I'd say read up on some syndicalist tactics, even
Yeah.
if you yourself are not a syndicalist, because they have a lot of ways that you can make a difference.
Yeah. And even just as much as even organizing your school or your workplace or anything like that can make it also better.
There's one thing I want to say. It's a little bit off topic. All this has made me think. If you support a state, and I don't know if this is the common thing or if it's just what I see, but most people freak out about the presidential election that happens every 4 years, but no one gives two shits about the midterm elections. And if you are someone who thinks voting actually matters, pay attention to the fucking midterm elections, because otherwise your presidential vote goes to fucking nothing. You can vote for, this is the issue that comes with the state. You can vote for this person for president, like I'll use the libcaps for an example. You can vote for Rand Paul as much as you want, but when the House of Representatives and the Senate is full of Democrats that oppose Rand Paul at every single stop, it's not going to fucking help. So unless you're paying attention to this, you're throwing away your fucking vote. Personally, I think voting in general, you're throwing away your fucking vote. But if you're going to talk about voting and how great it is, be consistent enough to vote in all of the instances, not just the presidential.
Including your local and state elections, too, if you care that much.
Yeah.
If you want to tell me how great fucking voting is. But I think that's actually a nice segue, because I think that while I don't believe that running for political office and like actually getting elected is very likely, I think that it can be helpful in spreading a message, like just at the very least. Not that it's useful, because I mean, like, not that it's useful to the point where you're going to get in office and change things on like a national level. Like, you may have success at the local level and very, very unlikely, but possibly at the state level. But if you run a campaign and people just tend to fucking trust you more for whatever reason. They think they see you more as an authority figure if you put on a suit and tell them that you're running for public office. So, I mean, I think if you were to utilize that route to spread your message, if you possibly could, then that might be something useful. And hell, if you did get elected and you have the power to change something, then that's even better. But I think using that tactic to get the message out and inform more people of what you are advocating can be beneficial.
The issue I see with that is, I think Vermin Supreme is one of the best examples. Most of the people that are going to be looking towards people that are running under these third-party strange areas they're not going to be your typical voter, and they're probably not going to pay attention to most of your stances.
Right.
And they're just that guy that's like, well, I don't want to vote for A or B, so this random person that spouts off all this random shit, I'll vote for them. And
I mean, like, I don't want to. I mean, I hate using the Republicans as an example here, but I mean, Ron Paul had like a decent amount of success in 2008 and 2012 using his campaign to inform people of his message. I mean, although I don't entirely agree with it because there's a lot of flaws in what he said and the amount of just absolute retards that spawned. But
well, much like the typical libcap, even Ron Paul thinks Lysander Spooner was a capitalist.
Right, and I mean, like, that's what I'm saying. There's obviously flaws, but I mean, he had success, and he, like, disregarding his ideology, like, he had quite a bit of success, like, informing people of of a message. So I think it can work, but I mean, like, I can see your point saying that, yeah, if you're going to run under a third party, it's not very likely that people take you seriously unless you're like Libertarian or Green Party, but then most people aren't looking in those directions. So
Yeah. I understand.
Well, why don't we go into why armchair anarchism is bad, or why we view it in a negative light?
Doesn't really do much. It just more all talk, no game, or no play, or whatever. Just
yeah, because everybody like America's like such a like results oriented society. They're just like they want like shit. They just need things to happen. So
Instant
like
gratification.
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm looking for. So whenever you like come tell them it's like, hey, I have a much better alternative to what we're doing now. Like, would you like to hear about it? They'll be like, oh, well, what have you done? And if all you've done is have like just fucking 50 reply chain comment arguments on the internet that like 4 people have seen, they're not going to take you seriously. Like you have to actually put some work into what you do and like show people like why they should support what you're talking about, because if not, they're just going to be like, well, you haven't done anything. I mean, I'm just going to go vote for the Republicans or the Democrats or whatever, just do some stupid shit. So I mean, I think like without works, or actions to back up what you're saying, what you're saying is kind of useless.
yeah.
I mean, it's not only useless to the people you're talking to, it's useless to yourself almost just as much.
Right.
You're not benefiting yourself by just sitting online, getting in flame war arguments with people online. You know, actually getting out and doing something would benefit you 1,000 times more.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to what we were saying earlier about like making your like working outside of the state to make your new society. Like you have to do things that will advance that goal other than just talk to people or yell at people in the fucking comment section of some website. Like that won't do it. You have to actually get out there and work towards it. Not like nobody ever just talk their way to a fucking like free society. The American Revolution wasn't just like, oh hey, we're gonna have a debate with you and like fucking you're just gonna quit now and this is how things should be and that's how it happened. Like no, they had to get out there and like I mean they eventually had to fucking have a revolution to make it happen.
Yeah.
So I mean there's things that have to be done. That's maybe a possibility at some point. So just talking to people is not gonna cut it.
Sufficient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a good thing for us to do for this episode would be, like I discussed it for myself a little bit, how I spend some of my free time discussing a little bit about what we do to further the movement. I mean, this right here, this podcast, educating people is part of it. So
Yeah. So I don't know, just actually do something out there. Go organize something. Go be a part of something, I guess.
Yeah, get like if you have Facebook, fucking get on Facebook and like try to find something that's going on in your city that supports the
Yeah,
movement
I
that you're a
mean,
part of. Like organize something.
you'll be surprised. There will also be people that are organized near you. In South Florida, there's actually a lot of anarchistic movements down there. And they held a anarchist conference in Tampa like a year ago. So you'll be surprised if you live in a like an isolated town. You might not be so lucky, but if you live near like major cities, you can probably find at least one. Even if it's like 12 people, it's better than 0. So
Exactly.
that's all we wanted to cover. Or we wanted to talk about why armchair anarchism is bad.
yeah, I think that's definitely an important thing to talk about.
So anything you want to say, Matt?
As to why it's bad,
Yeah.
I mean, I think we covered this, pretty well.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think we got it. Well, what should we move on to next then? Well, like here, like obviously this doesn't just apply to anarchism. So like I guess our title is a little bit misleading. This applies to almost anything, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, but statism, yay.
It is very homosexual, and I don't approve.
The gay guy doesn't approve of gay statism.
That should tell you something.
And I know a lot of Maoists do a lot of work, so.
Yeah, like I was gonna mention like some of the stuff by Mao, like On Practice, I think is a really good work. It's kind of weird that I'm talking about Mao on an episode about Armchair Anarchism, but it actually applies.
Yeah.
Like I'd suggest reading On Practice by Mao.
Yeah, what's weird is that a lot of early Maoist stuff, of ideas actually came from anarchism, because Mao was an anarchist when he was a teenager, I believe. So, things like dual power, which we talked about, was also a Maoist theory, and you'll just find a lot of Maoist groups out there doing things because it's part of what they have to do, what they feel they need to do, I guess. But, you know.
I didn't realize how hard it'd be to fill an entire episode on Armchair Anarchism.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we just kind of covered that it was gay and why you shouldn't do it and how you could, like, fix that.
You guys want to, like, move into a different topic? Just freestyling, I guess?
I actually think a good topic, since it's been in the news a little bit, or not really the news, but it's been all over social media and whatnot, is the whole Beyonce thing.
Oh yeah, yes, do this.
Apparently they're looping Kendrick Lamar into this. I don't know how that ties in. I don't know. I like Kendrick Lamar, but I don't know why they're looping him into it. But personally speaking, anyone that thinks what Beyonce did was a statement about black nationalism, or anyone that thinks the Black Panther Party was a racist or a black nationalist group is fucking retarded.
Like if you associate them with the KKK.
Well, technically the Black Panther Party was somewhat a black nationalist, but not in the same sense, I guess. They weren't for black supremacy.
Like if you're equating the Black Panthers with the KKK,
you're wrong.
I have no.
You should feel wrong.
Yeah, but it's so many people do it, and so many people think that that's correct. It's unbelievable.
Well, actually, if you guys keep going, I have something to pull up from.
Yeah, I mean.
So what exactly was making them associate Beyonce with the Black Panther Party?
Oh, the whole garb was actually to honor, like,
in her Super Bowl halftime performance?
Yes, what she wore was to honor the Black Panther Party, basically.
Is that it? Was it, or are they just saying it was?
No, it actually was, and I mean, mind you, it's Black History Month, which personally, I mean, even people like Morgan Freeman himself understand. Black History Month is fucking ridiculous. There's no need to give. There's no other race that has a history month like that was oppressed. Giving a history month to a race because of their oppression is just fucking ridiculous, because they have their own history to begin with outside of the U.S., but Black history is part of American history, and I mean, if you want to fucking give some sort of special treatment, it just seems ridiculous, and it seems it's kind of like the whole concept of, is it sexist to hit you or to not hit you?
And like this, like I don't think any of us here are like really huge fans of Beyonce or anything. Like I don't really give a shit about her, but you know, it's all this.
I'm not stereotypically gay and a huge fan of Beyonce, so
I don't like Beyonce, and I think she's honestly really stupid.
I agree.
Like not just like because of her music, just because I think she's actually fucking stupid.
But
Same.
yeah.
Um,
And I just want to say, just going back to the Black Panther Party, I just thought this. The new Black Panther Party is not an official successor to the Black Panther Party. Former members of the Black Panther Party have actually denounced the NBPP, or whatever. So, they're completely different from the Black Panther Party, the original one, so. The NBPP is an actual black supremacist group, and they're just taking on the title of Black Panther. So.
Here's a great one that just, for those that don't know, the founding members of the Black Panther Party were Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seale. And here's a direct quote from Huey P. Newton. I think what motivates people is not great hate, but great love for other people.
Yeah.
And to oppose the Black Panther Party or to think that they were some sort of terroristic group means you can't support any other group that has fought for their own rights. If you oppose the Black Panther Party yet support people like Cliven Bundy or the recent situation in Oregon, you're logically inconsistent and full of shit.
And probably a racist. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, I mean, there's no denying it. I recently saw a picture comparing, it was attempting to compare the KKK to the original picture used emotional tactics to begin with for the Black Panther Party. It used them holding a black child versus the KKK holding a noose. So that was kind of a terrible picture, but the second picture was a picture of a KKK member holding a white child and the Black Panther Party standing outside of a government building holding guns. What people didn't understand was that it was actually Huey P. Newton and a couple other folks outside of the government building. It was actually them protesting a
bills to take away their guns.
Yeah, it was a gun right.
There were actually a lot of, I believe it was the NRA who actually supported gun control for black people. So.
The NRA are kind of shit to begin with, just saying.
Yeah,
Huh?
They want guns, but for white people, so.
It's not just that. It's a lot of people haven't seen it, but mind you, while I do hate, I don't support ANCAP. Honestly, it just seems ridiculous to me. If you want to do it, fucking go for it. But I think you're kind of retarded. But I'm a fan of Adam Kokesh. I think his videos are interesting, and the stuff that he talks about are interesting.
Yeah.
But for a lot of people, most of the people that know who Adam Kokesh is know that he was arrested for possessing a loaded shotgun in the street.
In D.C.
Adam was, to my knowledge, I think he's since revoked it since saying this, was an NRA member, but when that happened, the NRA did absolutely nothing for his gun rights and nothing about his incarceration for that. So since then, Adam himself has denounced the NRA due to the fact that they're not willing to stand up for gun rights. I mean, what is the point? There's no difference between restricting a gun. In my eyes, there's no difference between restricting a gun and restricting the ability to carry that gun in public loaded.
Yeah, the NRA does fuck all unless gun control is in the media and it's being talked about nationally. Other than that, they don't fucking care, and it's just
absolutely no point to carry around an unloaded weapon. Personally, any person with sense that carries a weapon, be it open carry or concealed carry, carries it with the magazine in and one in the chamber.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are not allowed to do that with any other gun besides a pistol, you don't have gun rights.
Yeah,
There's
there's some laws in some states where if you're transporting a weapon and you don't have a concealed carry license, the magazine has to be separate from the gun. The gun has to be action open, and the magazine can't be loaded. Like that's
it,
so fucking stupid. Like if you need access to your firearm, like you shouldn't have to fucking run around and like assemble all the fucking pieces like you're building a house. Like no, that should be ready to go. So restricting your gun rights is just like if it's anything like that, it's like you might as well not have it.
in
Like
California, your gun must be out of reach in a locked case with the magazine separate from the firearm.
Yeah.
real quick aside, back to spreading anarchism. If you have laws like that, I say fucking break them.
Challenge them.
Or like do something to get them changed because there's absolutely no point in dying because some politician said you couldn't fucking do something. Like that's stupid.
And this is the exact reason why I like people like Adam Kokesh, is because they challenge the status quo. Mind you, he's a retarded ANCAP, but he still at least challenges the status quo.
This actually just made me think of something.
And he's willing to, for those that actually follow Adam Kokesh, know he's not only been jailed multiple times, he also breaks the law on multiple.
Like all the time.
He's got like 4 videos of him doing DMT.
Those are great.
And then, I mean, the whole video of him dancing in the Lincoln Memorial.
Have you seen that? That's so ridiculous. But I mean, like, the stuff like that's good. Like those kind of videos, he's not really promoting like an ANCAP message. He's just like, hey, look how fucked up this shit is. And I think things like that are excellent for like spreading the liberty message.
The way I see it, don't just focus on your
economic preference.
Yeah, on your economic preference. Just focus on the ability to execute anarchism in general.
Exactly, and that should be the main focus. Like, we can fight about economic systems after the state is gone. Like, and at that point, I don't really think we'll fucking need to. But like, until then, the main focus needs to be getting rid of the state, in my opinion. When
push comes to shove, just let every single state have its own sect of different sects of anarchism, so long as those anarchists want to live there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If ANCAPs, mutualists, ANCOMs, and I don't
primitivists, syndicalists, whatever, like fucking everybody's just doing their own thing, like that's cool.
If they all want to live in fucking South Carolina, let them establish amongst themselves portions set aside for each area.
And I assume, like, none of you expect this to actually happen anytime soon, but, like, this is, like, you know, theoretical.
Yeah. This is all theoretical.
No, it has to happen tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay. I was actually thinking along the lines of breaking the law to challenge things. I think Henry David Thoreau's books, little pamphlet, whatever, Civil Disobedience is a good start. And going back to Lysander Spooner, he had to...
What a great socialist.
He wrote something on the Constitution and why the Constitution can go fuck itself.
That's a great read, by the way. If nobody's ever read that, you definitely should read it.
What was it called? No Treason, I believe, or something like that.
I think so.
Yeah,
it's been a while since I've read it.
It's like in 6 or 7 different parts.
No Treason is one of his biggest books, I think.
Yeah, but he just shits on the Constitution, and it's so awesome.
Congress. He also has a letter, I believe I shared it with you guys at one point. There's a letter to his congressman telling him basically to go fuck himself and I'll do what I want.
Cole, do you want to bring up Renzo Novatore? I mean, he was pretty influential in the legalist movement.
For those of you that like breaking the law, illegalism is your friend. Legalism is one of the greatest things ever. If you want to, go on to the anarchist library and scroll through some of the people that they have on there. Go down to R, and you'll find Renzo Novatore. There's a bunch of pieces of writing. They're all
So
short.
this kind of made me think of something. A lot of people like to shit on the French for being cowards and pussies and whatnot. The French individualist anarchists knew how to fuck shit up.
Yeah, those guys were bad motherfuckers.
Like, I can think of maybe like 3 different ones off the top of my head who have done extremely fucked up shit just to further the anarchist cause. My favorite one would be Ravachol. He bombed a cafe with 3 or 4 judges in it who are part of like some Supreme Court that fucked over a few of his buddies, and he killed 3 of them, and then he got the guillotine. We're not saying advocate violence, but you know, just in case you guys want to look that up.
Just on the topic of judges, fuck Scalia. I'm glad he's dead.
Hey, oh my god, you should like fucking you should have seen the shit that they were saying on Fox News. It was so bad.
What were they saying?
They were like, "Oh, he was a hero of the conservative movement, and now we're just gonna be oppressed by the liberals in the Supreme Court if we don't get a good nominee." And it's just like all this other really cringy shit. It's like Scalia just fucking he only ruled like with originalism whenever it was favored conservatism, and he was like a judicial activist on shit like Citizens United. It was just like really stupid, and nobody on the right will fucking talk about that.
All right, so back on topic a little bit. Renzo Novatore, the greatest fucking legalist ever. He actually
cut out there.
Is he still? Okay, he's still in that chat.
Cole. Did he die?
Cole, you cut out on us.
Rip.
Well, see, now the sad thing is that only he knows what he's about to say.
Yeah, that is unfortunate.
Because we can't take over for him.
Yeah.
Hurry up, Goat, you do something. I'm just kidding. Well, Adam, who were the other few guys you were talking about, the other legalists?
Well, they weren't illegalists, but they were individualists. I can't remember their exact names, but I know one of them walked up to a guy who used to like take down their newspapers, and he shot him with one of those one-shot guns to the chest and walked away. And also, this goes back to America. An anarchist, I think he was Polish, anarchist, assassinated one of America's presidents.
Yeah. Oh, that reminds me of like Diogenes the Cynic.
Yeah.
Where Alexander the Great walked up to him as he was laying on the ground, and his shadow cast right over him. And he looked up at Alexander the Great and said something like, "Get out of my way! You're blocking my sun."
Yeah. Yeah. So that you can also do those things, but not that we advocate that. Just ideas.
Just throwing that out there.
Yeah. But there's actually a lot you can do. Like Lysander Spooner challenged the U.S. Postal Service by starting up the American Letter Mail Company. So if you want to try that again.
Why didn't
it not catch on?
They outlawed it.
Okay.
Shocker.
He was doing better than them, and they decided to make it illegal and the federal government got involved, so it wasn't.
I mean, like it fucking outcompeting the United States Postal Service would not be hard. I probably could actually like be doing that in a week just from my fucking apartment at college if I really wanted to.
Yeah. I mean, and there's Shihan has actually told me about this. Emma Goldman sold ice cream to fund an assassination. So you could also do that.
Not that we advocate that, just saying.
You could just
throwing that out there.
Sell ice cream to fund things.
I believe that was to fund the assassination of Henry Clay Frick.
Yeah, I believe so. Emma Goldman did a lot of shit.
And I'm trying really hard to remember the name of Emma Goldman's lover and
Alexander
fellow
Berkman.
anarchist. Yeah, Berkman, that was it. He's the one who did it. But it didn't succeed.
He did a lot of things too. He actually wrote a book. I can't remember he wrote. What is Anarchism, or the ABCs of Anarchism, I believe, or it was made for like so common people could read it, not just like scholars and things. It was like things that he could pass out in a bar. People could read it. And I've actually read it, and Emma Goldman does like a forward for him, and she practically gushes over him. So,
Speaking of writing, what do you guys think about writing like literature to advance the cause? I mean,
I think that's a good thing.
yeah.
I know a lot of people who do that. Like, they have their own blogs online and they write, but again, they do things outside of it.
Right.
But I think it would be good if you have ideas and you think they could be spread around. Go ahead and write them.
Yeah, I mean, like, we kind of do that in a sense, and I'd say that very, very loosely in a sense, like on iFunny, if you, like, make essays, because it's usually just memes and shit posting, but...
Yeah,
My computer shut off, my bad.
It's all good.
Okay, you were on Renzo Novator, so...
Yes, okay, to give a little perspective, I want to give his birth date before. Renzo was born May of 1890. In 1910, 20 years old, he was charged with the burning of a local church and spent 3 months in prison.
So he likes black metal. Yeah,
They never proved it, so they couldn't keep him in jail. A year later, apparently in Italy it was illegal to not hold a job. He ended up going on the run from the police because it was illegal to not hold a job, and he attempted to justify his not having a job by claiming that his reappropriation from the rich was a job. Like, this motherfucker tried to claim that being Robin Hood, except for keeping it all for himself, was a fucking job.
I mean, he's not wrong.
He continued his life. He met up with a lot of other revolutionary anarchists and fought alongside a lot of them. And he died in a way actually similar to, as we talked about earlier, the Black Panther Party. They were ambushed. They were sold out and ambushed by the state and killed.
Wasn't he somewhat of a successor to Stirner?
Yes, he was one of the 3 successors of Stirner.
Wait.
Stirner was a big read for him. The big ones for Renzo were Stirner, Nietzsche, Kropotkin, and Christ, what was the last one? Errico Maltesta.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he actually was a big fan of Maltesta. But yeah, Renzo Novatore was the epitome of an anarchist acting on his beliefs. He had no fear of anything. He served jail time. He did all that. He actually left his family for fear that they would be put in danger due to his actions. And he actually, on occasion, while he was on the lam, would return to visit his family. So basically, Renzo Novatore was a badass. For those of you that don't know what illegalism is, it's a extreme take on Max Stirner's ideals of might makes right, essentially. Mind you, might makes right is an extreme simplification of what Stirner actually said. The whole concept is if you have the power to do it and you're not actually essentially oppressing anyone else through your power, it's right.
So it's not like fascist might makes right, where they like justify
No,
imperialism.
fascist. Actually it's an extremely common thing. All of us know who I mean when I mention Bill.
Yeah.
Used to attempt to use it to justify his nationalist viewpoint.
He's
But
back, by the way, just an aside.
Stirner heavily opposed nationalism and fascism and any form that oppressed freedom, essentially. I feel this is another reason why I like the concept of Stirnerian egoism, is because it fits so well with the mutualist model of economics. The concept of use of property, I feel this fits in with Mike Max right extremely well.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about now.
It's a mutualist thing. You wouldn't understand.
Yeah. Gotta be part of the cool kids club to understand it.
So what do you guys, or I mean Cole specifically, but I mean you guys too, like what do you guys think of movements, like actual like physical migratory movements? And Cole knows what I'm talking about. Like I know you hate the Free State Project, but I mean like as a goal, do you think that's a good thing to strive for?
Well, if I can be so bold as to make my statement first.
Go for it. Yeah.
I actually wrote a little excerpt on essentially taking the Free State Project and utilizing it in another state that already has, or more, a migratory movement to a specific bioregion. As some might know, it's called Cascadia. I actually wrote a piece a couple of months ago on a migration, a lot of left-leaning anarchists to the Cascadian bioregion, as there's already a left-leaning presence there. Sheehan's actually an example, especially with how much he spreads it. But the Cascadian region is made up of most of the Northwest, Oregon, Washington, and
British Columbia.
Columbia, all fit into the Cascadian region, and it's actually beginning to stretch out further into more states to the east of Oregon and Washington, and more easterly parts of Canada are becoming parts of the Cascadian bioregion. But there's an extensive amount of leftists already there in that region, which is why I essentially wrote on the concept of a migratory movement to the Northwest. Personally, I think it's a great idea. The issue is when secession comes into play, which secession is essential.
Yeah, I think that's the end goal.
Without the secession, there is no separation from the state, and that's the issue I see with the Free State Project, is they have no plans for secession. Great.
Well, there is a secessionist movement going on, but it's not, I don't think, in my personal opinion, it's not well enough organized. Because, I mean, people are obviously too afraid to say, hey, you need to move this place and get guns so you can, like, whenever you need to secede, you'll be able to defend yourself.
Well, here's the issue I see with it is the fact that New Hampshire's fucking small.
Right.
And you're just surrounded by different states. And that just leads to issues there. Well, I get with the Cascadian region, it's still technically surrounded by other states. The bioregion is much larger. The capability to move more people and convince more people is greater, especially seeing that in the Northwest there's a huge deal. It's a port. All of the areas on the coast are ports.
Yeah.
Washington is a huge port. Like, that is a huge deal right there in and of itself.
Okay,
But
we got about 5
having that
minutes.
whole ability to have that port system adds a whole lot. But on top of that, gaining the fact that there's more states reaching further into the Cascadian region. To my knowledge, in the U.S. alone, there's 4 states within the Cascadian bioregion, as opposed to New Hampshire, which is 1. And I mean, mind you, I don't think we're going to have a migratory pattern large enough to fill those 4 states.
Yeah, that was my
But
issue with it. But I mean, go on.
I think the greatest thing is that we have more land. The more land we have, the better we can move to the outer states to defend the inner states. We can defend the areas of Washington and British Columbia by utilizing the states like Oregon and the other. I'm so bad with geography that I can't remember.
Oregon, Washington, Idaho.
We're gonna have to wrap this up soon, guys. We're almost over
California,
the limit.
North California.
Yeah.
So we can use the states like Oregon, Northern California, and Idaho as defensive barriers for the areas of British Columbia and Washington. While New Hampshire, once they're in your state, you're fucked.
Yeah.
I mean, like, to me, it wouldn't be so much about landmass. It's just more like the more number of people you have there that are sympathetic to your cause. But I mean, I could kind of see what you're getting at there. Like, if they could take ground and then you have less space to move around. I get what you're saying.
Let me ask you this really quick.
Yeah.
20,000 people signed.
Mm-hmm.
How many people actually live in New Hampshire currently?
Currently, that are involved in the Free State Project, I think it was 1,909. So I mean, like the point was like there was people that moved early, so there was 20,000 people that signed, and then whenever they hit their 100% goal, then everybody was supposed to move within 5 years, and they hit that goal I think on like February the 3rd or whatever. So they have like till 2021 February the 3rd to have 20,000 people.
Correct something there. 1908, because Chris Cantwell doesn't count.
Yeah, fuck Cantwell. He's not really an anarchist anymore. He's like a I don't even want to say closet fascist at this point because it's like he's just pretty open about it.
I thought Cantwell would count as 2 people though. I mean,
2 cucks, maybe.
Isn't he huge?
Yeah, he's fat as fuck, dude.
It's
2
hilarious
giant
because
cucks.
Peter tries like that little like the mean guy that he made of himself screaming.
Yeah.
He tried to make himself look like half his size.
Yeah, he took out like 10 chins too.
Yeah. And he made his beard look like much better than it actually does. It looks like 12-year-old's peach fuzz.
I'm gonna look up a picture of Cantwell now.
Yeah, we should just make that the thumbnail for our video.
Oh, I fucking hate thumbnails.
I do too.
But yeah, honestly,
At least the way YouTube does them. But
honestly, I think there's really no currently, since there's no actual movement for the Cascadian region leftist idea, especially seeing that the issue with that whole concept that I've essentially thought up, is a lot of leftists that I've noticed that live in the Northwest region actually support the indigenous movement. So they actually see a migration to the Northwest as a form of nationalism, which sees a lot of opposition from leftists. For us in this group here, the examples would be people like Boone and Plebeian. They both actually see a migration to the Cascadian region as a form of nationalism. So we run into issues like that with the leftist movement.
Right.
Personally, I don't think we need something like that. I think our best deal is getting essentially a group of us, like a group of us, people that are sitting here right now, together, establish a union, buy a plot of land, and start working off that.
We hit our hour mark, guys.
Okay.
All right. Well, I think I'm good. I don't have anything else to add.
We covered a lot. I think we did pretty good.
Yeah. So.
All right, folks. So
Fire
that is
some of
it for
you.
this week's episode. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. Tell your friends. Tell your friends' friends. Tell your friends' uncles, cousins, grandmas, nephews, half brothers. Yeah.
Roommates Goldfish, and tell them to fucking like, comment, subscribe, and give us ideas for future podcasts. Tell us who you want to see on. Tell us what you want to have us talk about, and we'll try to make it happen. So thanks for watching.